Good morning. Our hand today is going to be Ace King. There's only one big blind here. I'm under the gun. I open raise with it. I think this is pretty standard. Open raising range. I'm under the gun, so I don't really use an expanded range. I mean, I could, but this is 10-0 game. I think if I was a much bigger stack, I could use that. But right now, I just have 100 big blind stacks, so it's probably better just to keep with standard raise first in range. Now, Villain 5 raises, and then it folds back to me. His 3-bet set was 8% right now. Mid position 3-bet is 11%, 5 out of 44. Small blind is 12%, big blind's 9%, buttons 3%. I think this guy has a wider 3-betting range. And I think we have a couple approaches. One is just a call, and I think this is probably a tough situation because if we call, we're going to be out of position the entire hand. It's going to be hard to play against someone who seems to be aggressive. His flop aggression factor 0.71, 1.674. I mean, it's ramping up. I think he is definitely going to be much more aggressive. C-bet's not super high, so I think on the flop he's only going to C-bet when he has when he's connected in some way. So, calling is probably my least favorite. I think 4-betting is a little bit better, especially if we see this player is 3-betting way too much. I think 8% is just way too much. So what kind of 3-bet range does he have? Well, 5% looks something like this. This is if he includes a polarized range, so let's say ace 4, ace 5. If he is wider, so getting up to, let's say, 8%, I think he's probably adding a few more of these pocket pairs, and maybe some of these. And that's at 9%, and again, 8% if we get rid of the polarized range here. If we 4-bet, I think he's going to be in position on us. We would have to 4-bet up to maybe, here. I don't think 27 is necessarily going to get the job, maybe to 36, and then plan to shove on the flop. That would probably get the job done. His fold to 3-bet stat's 43%, so I do think he's going to be able to fold. What do we do? We actually just call. So out of this range, what hands are we calling with? Against this player, I think we are probably calling something like this. I think we are 3-betting aces and kings. I think we're probably 4-betting ace king. But knowing what I did or how I was playing it, I think I'm probably doing this as a call. 4-betting aces, and it's because I'm out of position. I think later on, I can't remember when the same was played, but I think I started 4-betting a bit more and really picking up pots, especially against a guy that has an 8% 3-bet stat. They're just 3-betting a little too wide. So are we going to keep this at 8%? I don't think so. I think we are going to cut this down. Probably with that. We'll keep ace 4, ace 5 in as a polarized range. Flop comes out 10-8-7, misses us completely. We're out of position. We don't really have backdoor draws. We check. I think we check 100%. He bets, and he bets, about 25%, about 30, a little bit more, maybe 30% or so. What's he doing this with? I think his range is going to be very heavy in our overpair in sets. He could obviously have a flush draw. I don't think he really has. I mean, maybe a gut shot, but that's going to be part of the overpair hand. I really don't think he's doing it with overcards. You know, ace king, ace queen. Not since I showed that amount of strength. Maybe he's taking a stab at it, but based on a c-bet stat in position, it's not like 100%. It's not even anywhere close where he's been c-betting, you know, 80, 90%. 3 out of 5 or 5 out of 8 in position. I think he can check, and I think he's aware that if he bets and he gets check raised, he's going to have to let it go. So, you know, if we're intending, if we don't believe that he actually has this overpair, so you can see this flush draw, even with ace king, ace queen, and the overpair, we're looking at 46.3%. If we add in these overcards here, it's 91%. And let's get groups here. We're dealing with about half. Half of them are overcards, half of them are pairs. So if I don't think we should be calling if we don't believe him. I think we should be raising. So if we check raise and he calls, then I doubt that he has overcards. I think he's got a pair or trips or some sort of diamond draw, and I don't think he's going away with the diamond draw. We could charge him again on the turn. If the diamond draw gets there, we're just gonna have to check fold. If it doesn't, we could go for 3, you know, like a triple barrel. I think that is going to be our play. So right now, I'm not going to say he has overcards. I think flush draw, overpair, I think that's probably what he's looking at. And with that, then we kind of come back to our hand. I think we call with the overpair. I think we call with sets. Although I think we check raise with our sets. I think this is actually just a check raise hand. Let's do this. Call with an overpair. Call with a pocket pair below a top pair. The 9 gives us a open ender. We are check raising the set, and I think the flush draw, the nut flush draw. I think that is going to be our range here. Calling 50%, check raising sets, and flush draws, and I think we just fold everything else. And again, if we think he's bluffing, we can always add our overcards. And the overcards that I think we would add is if we have the ace of diamonds or the king of diamonds. I think that's what we're looking for, because if we have either of those, then we know he doesn't have the diamond draw, so we're just betting on him having a pure ace king, ace queen, no flush draw. So what do? I just called, which I think is a mistake on this hand. I just called. So 3 diamonds completes, and that's kind of right now. I think what we're hoping for is to represent this diamond, but since we don't have one, I think it's more likely the villain has a diamond in his range. I think instead of, you know, with how we played, instead of checking, we should have led if we're going to go for the bluff. And then if he calls, we know he's on a diamond draw himself, and we can fire 2 barrels. And if he has the made flush, he has the made flush. That's all we can. I mean, we took a stab, we bluffed, and we got caught. So we checked, and villain checked behind. So right now, I don't think he's checking his flush. I think it's possible he could have a set, he could have 2 pair, and I think that is it. I think that's what he's looking at, set and overpair. We checked everything. I think we're continuing with basically 100%. I don't like this. I'm very quickly kind of getting lost in this hand. So 4 clubs comes out. As you can see, we don't have anything. All that we can do is just bluff catch. I fired out the bet. I don't like that. I think our bet should have been on the turn. I think it would have been more believable if we'd made that bet on the turn with the diamond instead of checking. I thought this kind of looks like maybe we were still playing, where we called with the diamond, we caught the diamond, and now we were hoping for a check raise. Is 20? I think 20 is kind of like what does it accomplish? I think our bet should have been at least 30 pot size, maybe more, or should have been smaller, less than half pot or less. This 2/3 pot is just kind of like, well, I don't know what to do. I kind of want to bet big to get full equity, but at the same time, I don't want to bet big enough because I'm on a bluff. I think that's what that shows. And he calls, and the question is, what is he going to call with? I think he's got overpairs and sets, and if he reads that bet, it's kind of like, I don't know what to do with this bet, with the bet sizing. Then he's gonna call, and he did. So I'm gonna guess he has that overpair, and he does jacks. So this is a hand I'm not very proud of. I think I screwed up. He had the jack of diamonds, which I think he would call the turn, but if we lead the turn, we bet he calls, then we fire out the river, and we're really at that point representing the diamond. I think he's a thinking player that would recognize that diamond actually looks good. We could be leading out with the ace of diamonds or the king of diamonds too, but then facing two bets, turn A in the river, it's going to really put him in a tough spot. So it's rough hand. So let's go back. Pre-flop, I'm not totally against this call, but I think against a player that has this high 3-bet stat, we should probably be 4-betting here and hoping to take it down. If we 4-bet and we see this flop, I think we're probably just going to have to shove. Definitely if we had ace of diamonds or king of diamonds, it would be much more enticing. But with 4-betting, we're representing a big pair, and I think that would just be consistent. We like this flop. Let's lead out. Try to get called. Try to charge the diamonds. With his hand, he'd probably call, and that would be unfortunate. But we made our play. As played with the call, I don't like this check call at all. If we're going to continue, I think we need to be check raising. Check raising is a bluff, but only doing that with ace king if we have the ace of diamonds or king of diamonds. So with this, without having the diamond, I think this is a check fold hand. And if I check fold, I save 26 big blinds. So that was a screw up. And I think that was the point in our hand that kind of cost us. And then even if I called here, so we had hands that we were calling with, including like pocket nines or the overpair. I think when the diamond comes on the turn, that was our chance to bet out, kind of represent that we have a hand that's at least the diamonds, maybe better than the diamonds, maybe the overpair, maybe queens or kings. We lead out, and then if he calls, we could always lead out on the river, and 2 streets would be tough to call. And if he calls, he calls. Good for him. All right, so hopefully you enjoyed this hand. Definitely messed this one up, but hopefully we learn from it. If you like this hand, look tomorrow for another.